Right, before we get into charts and averages, let's hit you with something genuinely mad. In London, the average price of a semi-detached home is £717,000. And up in the Northeast's biggest, and in my factual opinion, best city, Newcastle upon Tyne, the average price of a semi-detached is £235,000. That's not a typo. That's not prime London versus a wreck up north. Those are official stats. And when we pulled those numbers up during research, we honestly just sat there like, how is this even the same country? So today we're doing a proper deep dive into the north-south divide in property prices in England. What's driving it, what's changing right now, and what it means if you're trying to buy, sell, or invest. And if you like UK property data that's actually sourced and not vibes, consider subscribing because we're posting new videos 5 days a week. I'm Georgia from Property Bee. Let's jump into it. Quick disclaimer before we go any further. Everything in this video is based on the latest publicly available official data at the time of research, mainly from government and national statistics sources. This content is for general information only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video should be taken as financial advice. Property markets can change, data can be revised, and conditions vary massively by location. So always do your own research and get professional advice that's specific to your situation before making any major decisions. Right, with that out the way, let's get into it. When people talk about the housing market in England, what they usually mean is their local area, plus whatever London is doing. But England doesn't behave like one single housing market. It behaves like several markets stacked on top of each other. You have London and parts of the south, where prices are anchored to higher incomes, tighter space, and long-standing demand pressure. You've a broad middle zone, including commuter belts and Midland cities, where affordability is stretched but still just about workable. And then you have large parts of the north, where prices are lower, affordability looks completely different, and the market can move in very different ways depending on jobs, confidence, and local demand. And here's the key point for this video. The north-south divide isn't just about how expensive places are, it's also about how those places are moving right now. Let us put some structure around that using the latest official house price data. As of November 2025, the average property price across England was around £293,000. In that same month, the average price in London was roughly £553,000. In the northeast, the average price was closer to £167,000. So even before breaking this down by property type, London is already more than 3 times the northeast on average. That's the baseline the entire divide sits on. There isn't just one single reason for that gap. It's a combination of forces that all push in the same direction. First, higher paid jobs are more concentrated in London and parts of the south, which increases how much buyers can borrow and what they are able to pay. Second, demand pressure works differently. London and the south tend to draw larger buyer pools, including people moving for work and, in some segments, buyers with significant equity or cash. Third, supply does not respond quickly in the most expensive areas. When demand rises, new homes do not suddenly appear, so prices absorb more of that pressure. And fourth, the deposit maths becomes extreme. A deposit that feels manageable on a £200,000 home feels completely different when the starting price is over £700,000. Now here's where the story gets more interesting. Looking at the 12 months to November 2025, the Northeast recorded the strongest annual house price growth in England, at around 6.8%. London, by contrast, recorded the weakest performance, with prices down by roughly 1.2% over the same period. London is still far more expensive in absolute terms, but recently, price momentum has been stronger in cheaper regions, while the most expensive parts of the market have softened. And this is important. This is why national headlines saying house prices are rising or falling can be misleading, because they often hide completely different regional stories underneath. That pattern fits a simple affordability idea. When prices stretch too far beyond what people can afford, the pressure usually shows up first at the expensive end of the market. If house prices feel abstract, rents make the divide very real. In the 12 months to November 2025, average monthly rent in London was about £2,271. In the Northeast, the average rent was closer to £759 per month. That is not just a pricing difference. That gap alone can completely change how much people are able to save, invest, or even stay living in the area they grew up in. And rent growth tells the same story. Over that same period, rent inflation was strongest in the Northeast at around 8.4% and weakest in London at around 2.8%. So even on the rental side, England is behaving like two different markets. So what does all of this mean in practice? The easiest way to think about the North-South divide is this. The South is mainly an affordability problem. The North is mainly a demand and opportunity problem. That does not make one better than the other, but it does mean they behave very differently. And this is why national headlines saying house prices are rising or falling can be misleading, because they often hide completely different regional stories underneath. London remains far more expensive, but recently parts of the North have been moving faster. I would love to hear your real-world stories. Are prices rising where you are, falling, or just going sideways? Are rents becoming harder to manage, or have they started to level off? Drop your experience in the comments because those real-world stories often say more than any headline. If you found this useful, consider subscribing for more property analysis that is grounded in real data, not hype. I've been Georgia from Property Bee, and I'll see you in the next one.